Hi, this is me, Sajina. I came from Bangladesh. I have my bachelor in anthropology in social science. I got to know English language when I was in first grade. I was 7 years old. As far I can remember, learning a second language like English was fun. We learned the alphabet, some English words that we use our day-to-day life. Then it continued with a little more syllabus in different classes. It was not a communicative English. We couldn't speak in English, but we learned a few selected things in English. I like to talk about English language teaching system in Bangladesh and Denmark. Later on, I will try to draw a comparison from my experiences in learning English language. Bangladesh and English language teaching pre and post liberation were. During the Pakistani period, as a legacy of British rule, English was a second language in Bangladesh. After the liberation war in 1971, we used Bangla everywhere rather than English. But post liberation, where Bangladesh English became an important part in government, semi-government, and private organization. The changing scenario, the effect of using the traditional teaching methods proved to be counterproductive, encouraging rote learning. The students study English as required subject. They learn it, they memorize it for passing the exam. The majority are unable to acquire even a minimum competence in language needed for effective communication. Because of the growing demand of English, educated parents administrators realized to improve the poor situation of learning English language in Bangladesh. Place of English in the national curriculum. Learners study English for 12 years, primary school, secondary school, and college. English is taught to be enable learner to be acquainted with culture, tradition, history of the target language, and also to pursue knowledge and pleasure about the world. The National Syllabus and Curriculum Committee has English language syllabus focusing on four things: listening, reading, and writing. But in reality, the situation is totally different. Teachers focus on teaching reading, translation, writing, as these are the exam oriented school. Most of the teachers fail to recognize the imaginative function of language is as important as representational one. Problem in speaking, though the students can read and write, but they have problem with the speaking. English is seldom used in socially and is confined mainly to the classroom. They overemphasizes on grammatical accuracy. Maybe they are afraid of teachers to ask question. Maybe teachers are unable to transfer his knowledge from language learning situation to language using situation. We have also problem with teaching materials and teachers training. The methodology currently used in Bangladesh, traditional teaching methodology, teacher-centered grammar translation method, is not suitable for teaching communicative English, but only for meeting the requirement of the present examination system. There is a need for a methodology to change in teaching of foreign literature to bring it more into line with the learner-centered collaborative approach of the communicative method. Now I like to tell about English is in Danish Folkeskole. English is in primary, lower secondary school obligatory subject from first grade to ninth grade. Number of lesson, first and second grade first lesson, third and fourth grade two lesson, and fifth and ninth grade third lesson. Formal evaluation, school evaluating exam in ninth grade, and national test in fourth grade and seventh grade. Danish school curriculum for English. Final goals, English study plus goals for each of three levels: first to fourth grade, fifth to seventh grade, eighth to 10th grade. Goals for these areas within each class level, like oral skills, written skills, and culture and society. Further division of goals within each area: listening, presentation, conversation, language, focus, communication strategies, language acquisition strategies. Learning goals divided into skill and knowledge for each element. Curriculum focuses points: emphasis on learners' ability to communicate, especially orally, written communication, separate section, exploratory focus, communication and language learning strategy features at levels in both oral and written competence areas, culture, and samfund. In addition to the importance of gaining knowledge about English speaking regions of the world, there is an emphasis on comparing other cultures to one's own and own cultural meeting. English in Denmark. English is a global language and Danes are aware of it. They are aware of it, what's happening around them. There are so many different cultural nations living in Denmark. English is taught here in Denmark from grade 1. I will try to focus here. A dynamic cultural view. Culture can be understood in different ways, and understanding will guide how work is done on culture. Intercultural competence in teaching. In English, work is done on a dynamic cultural view, also called the complex cultural concept. Understanding is that culture is evolving and changing all the time. This means that culture is not something that you have, it is something you do. Culture is created between people. Culture is always changing. A person is not just his culture, nor does he present the whole culture. A culture is not the same as a nation state. A person is a member of several cultural communities. The goal is for the students to become intercultural competent and can participate independently in international cultural meeting. In English, being intercultural competent in this view means being a good at acting in changing situations, reading them, influencing them, and being curious, empathetic, and respectful of diversity. Here in Denmark, learning English is a challenge for me. It's a foreign language which I had learned a little bit in my home country. I started learning English language in fifth English class now. The teaching method is quite different than in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, we are taught to learn what was written in the syllabus. Teachers and students were in a hurry to complete the English syllabus and sit for the exam. Our focus was to learn English grammar from grade 3. As a child, I didn't like grammar at all, but I liked when the teacher was telling us about the story in English, reciting rhymes, poems, etc. It was actually the one-way communication. Teachers had all power to control. Teachers and students had nothing to except listening the teachers and obey him. Sometimes there are so many questions in our minds to explore, but we couldn't ask this question due to lack of our confidence courage. We are always afraid of our teachers, and to be afraid is a traditional it's a tradition. I have been in fifth English language class for 3 times. The very important thing I learned from my class is that you should not be afraid of learning a new language. Learning new language depends on both communication. It depends on interaction between teachers and learners, group work, presentation. And the important thing I learned is like feedback. Students often know that they themselves cannot would like to learn. They can also be encouraged to seek feedback from teachers and peers where they are in doubt. It's a good strategy because you get immediate answer where you are in doubt, and that doubts you can overcome it. While I will be in teaching practice, I will try to observe the following things: the relationship and understanding between the teachers and the student in English class. How are the students enjoying learning a new language where most of the students are afraid of attending English classes in Bangladesh? How can teaching materials be more creative, effective, interesting to learners, whereas in Bangladesh, teachers focus only to textbooks and syllabus? To know or study more about it, I will prefer participatory or an observation research method. Thank you.